the Home Depot, we have all your appliance answers. And with Spring Black Friday savings, you can get up to 40% off, plus free delivery on select brands like GE Profile. Simplify your day and get the GE Profile all-in-one washer dryer with a quick 90 minutes wash and dry time. Now available in multiple color options. And a fridge with hands-free autofill that fills your cup perfectly while you prep for your day. Shop Spring Black Friday savings and get free delivery on appliance purchases of $998 or more right now at the Home Depot. Offer valid April 9th through April 29th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast with your hosts, Kyle Borganoni and Matthew Betz.
Welcome in. It is the day after round one of the draft. We are glad you're with us. Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined, as always, by Matthew Printing Props Money Betz.
Oh, what a terrible evening to be pants, Kyle. I have not been wearing pants for hours. At this point now, days going into Friday. What a night. Oh, man, it was so fun, dude. The NFL draft is a spectacle unlike any other, right? Because, we spend weeks and months reading articles and listening to podcasts and trying to digest information and doing prospect forecasting. And what's so funny is you put so much time and effort into all those things, and then all of a sudden you get there and it happens, and every single time there are things that you're like, wait, what? I didn't think that was going to happen. So it was a very fun night. Obviously, a lot of surprises. We'll talk about every pick, hopefully, in this show and kind of go through it. But man, just right off the rip, hitting David Bailey, second overall. Beautiful. Carnell Tate, wide receiver one in our hearts, forever and always. AKA, I still love you, Jordan Tyson. So good. Jordan Tyson, 8th overall, exact pick. Jordan Tyson, top 10, let's do it. Caden Proctor, come on down, buddy, top 20. Under 4.5 cornerbacks, not even a sweat. Casey Concepcion goes in round one, not even a sweat. We had the wide receivers going in round one. Chris Johnson.
This is the big one.
My new favorite player in the NFL, who I know next to nothing about, but my new favorite player in the NFL goes in round one. That was a nice plus 125. The second corner off the board, Kyle. 30-1. Cash it, baby. What a night.
I'm looking back at our DMs because it's fun to see our process behind the scenes. And a lot of times we put that in the article and then we talk it out in the props channel. But for some of these, you and I will kind of look at some of the markets, we'll discover a player, and we'll kind of go back and forth. So one of these with Chris Johnson, this is from April 14th. This was just him to be a round one corner. So this wasn't our long shot one. And we're looking at the prices on different books. And I'm quoting you, Betz. This is great stuff. You go, what? If that's real, we have to give this out. Just of him being a round one player, which we got at plus odds. And then your next quote, oh, baby, that is going to be a great bet.
Oh, so baby. And it was.
It's great to see our enthusiasm, which honestly, sometimes we give out stuff and it doesn't hit. But this was definitely one of those, if you got to ride with us, it's cool to see the process. It's cool to see the fruition of some of these picks. And, depending on how many you jumped in, if you just went for every single one that we posted, you would have had a very, very good night. That if you went for the Chris Johnson second corner, then, Chili's for a week.
Dude, we might be able to buy Chili's. Get our own franchise.
You think they're calling after this?
I mean, phone's ringing right now.
I'm still waiting. We've actually had preliminary talks with some Chili's folks in the past, but we did have somebody from Jason's recent episode where he talks about him and his putter and him just, completely obliterating it. If you listen to the Fantasy Footballers main show on Wednesday that came out, the prediction show, somebody listened that works for the PGA Tour, and they're like, hey, we just want to reach out, if there's any partnerships and stuff like that. It's like, oh, so we just need to break stuff.
Yeah.
Break a product, and then we can get it sponsored on the show.
I mean, we've been trying for years, Kyle. You know what? The reason I think we had such a great draft night, I took the fam to Chili's this past Sunday.
You did?
And it was a lovely evening with the girls. My wife and I took the girls. Lovely family outing at America's, best establishment. and everybody had a great time. And earlier this week, one of my daughters said, "Hey, Dad, when are we going back to Chili's?" I was like, "Yes, we've done this right." So that's why we had a great week. I had a great meal at Chili's on Sunday night, and it just rolled into an unbelievable draft week. Man, what a fun night that was. There was so many twists and turns that I was like, I did not see this coming at all. I'm excited to break down kind of how we think that changes, like forecasting the season for some of these, not just players, but teams and all that sort of stuff. But obviously a lot more to go through the weekend with day 2 and then day 3. But round 1, always a very, very fun night.
Yeah, we will walk through the first round from a betting perspective. We'll also look at some of the season-long prop lines that were already laid out there for these wide receivers. We already have Jadarian Price rushing yards, which, spoiler alert, Betz told me this earlier, his line for the Seahawks would be higher than any other season of his career.
I didn't actually check that.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. I'm pretty sure it is.
It just felt right based off of our, production profiles and stuff. But
oh yeah, no, it's pretty. I think the stat that we were giving out the other day is that Jadarian Price, there's only one other running back over the last decade that had fewer than 700 rushing yards in their final college season that was drafted in rounds 1, 2, or 3. And it was Josh Jacobs. So Jadarian Price will be an interesting name that we'll get to talk about, Dynasty specifically. But I love thinking about the thought process of these GMs. And you and I went through the top 30 visits. We talked about some of the stuff. Some of them reveal later on, hey, this was just smoke. We didn't bring in this player. There's no rule. I think sometimes when we get that data of top 30 visits, people message me and go, oh, well, it must be these teams. Once you get past the top 10, the hit rate for the exact match for those teams just plummets. So I don't really use that data to say they will visit with these teams, especially when you get to day 2 of the draft and day 3, it's kind of just irrelevant. You kind of care more about who they visit with. But some of these GMs did work, and it was super impressive. Other GMs, we're going to talk about them today. It's like this is their show for us to react, and everybody's giving grades and stuff, but some of them are questionable at best. These are adults. These are adults paid millions of dollars to do a job that we do in our parents' basements.
And we obviously would do a much better job. It's, as Mike would say, this is so easy to build an NFL franchise. I don't know why they don't just do it the right way. Real quick before we jump in, did you have any takes on the 8-minute clock versus what it had previously been?
I liked it. I got nervous a couple of times though, because it was going by so fast. And I was explaining this to my wife who was watching. She wasn't really watching. She was reading next to me. She says it was really good white noise, by the way. But I got nervous because we were like, man, this is going by so fast. So I think overall it helped. And yet I feel like there was commercial breaks at odd times.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned, some of the GMs in front office seem to make, some questionable decisions. I wonder if the panic pressure of being on the clock with just a short timer played into that. And let's be honest, if you're listening to this show, you play best ball, you play fantasy, we've all been there. Obviously a little different stakes when you're playing a $5 puppy versus the NFL draft. But you've been there and you felt that. And it felt rushed to me. Now, as a shout out to JJ Zacharias in front of the show, East Coast dad, I loved it. Being able to go to bed in a reasonable hour, I loved it. But I do feel like it maybe forced the hand of some GMs in front offices where if your guy got sniped and you had to pivot and whatever, it just wasn't enough planning. So I don't know. That's just my personal take. But like I said, as a dad of little kids on the East Coast, I wasn't too upset about it.
Yeah, this is a quote. I'll just give this one right now. This is from a Steelers insider. They talked about their pick at 21. They picked an Arizona State offensive tackle. I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I'm going to screw it up. But the quote is, he says, when the clock runs out on you in a fantasy football draft and it auto picks a guy you don't want, that's what happened to the Steelers tonight. And we'll talk more about the Steelers.
It really felt like that too.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So we will walk through the first round, talk about some of these. Quick reminder, our little schedule shifts over the next really month or two, where we're going to be focusing on best ball. Our best ball primer will be coming out later this next month. All of our rankings. So our shows, we will kick off the summer of best ball next Friday. It's going to be an exciting episode to kind of get you geared up. So if you're one of those people where's all the best ball content? We really care about the landing spots for these rookies. We don't do as much drafting before the NFL draft, but once the NFL draft kind of gives us a kick in the nads, then it's one of those things where you and I get to focus totally on that. So Best Ball Primer will come out. And the reason I mention that is because we're doing a giveaway right now for Ultimate Draft Week. If you have bought the Ultimate Draft Kit or the Ultimate Draft Kit Plus, which has all the stuff we get to do in the DFS and betting world, if you buy that by the end of the draft week, you are entered in to get a Listener League spot, a signed Jamar Chase jersey, and a signed Bijan Robinson jersey. So it is one of those things, one of our biggest giveaways that we do. And it's right now, this is the time that you get the UDK at the lowest possible price. So jump right into that. Anything you want to say about that, Betz?
We get this question every year, at least I do, in Discord DMs or Twitter DMs. It's like, hey, what is the extra subscription for the props? Where's the extra subscription for DFS? It's like, no, literally, this is everything we do. So this is an unbelievable value. I mean, the value, Kyle, the value.
I'm going to find a drop for that, by the way.
Please. No, in all seriousness, it is the cheapest it will be, and it gets you literally everything we're doing on the site, including all of our stuff for DFS, articles, the optimizer, props, all those things. So obviously, if you want to not have fun this year, don't buy it. But if you want to have fun and make some money, you should buy it.
I even just think about people that are ultimate tier subscribers, meaning you get our products throughout the entire year. And if you would have just rode along with us and just blindly bet what we put out there, okay, so just be like, I don't really have much time, but I get these props alerts, and these guys are saying to take Chris Johnson round 1 or Chris Johnson as the second corner. And you just put a little sprinkle, I don't know, $5 or whatever. Then not only would you have paid for that over the subscription, but you would have made a lot of money. So it's one of the things where we're not trying to convince anybody you have to have this product, but we think that you get to ride with people. It provides entertainment and value, and then it gets to pay for itself. What a weird product that we never raised the price of.
Again, just corporate behind the scenes, asleep at the wheel.
All right, moving on.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
Man. The draft is super fun. I did have this conversation with my wife in the car. She said, what do you guys talk about? What is it that you guys spend time talking about the week leading up to the draft? She's like, everyone's going to be different than what you think. So what are you talking about? And then after that, she said, is this, I forget the exact quote, but I shared it in the company Slack of just she's like, all you guys are doing is standing around finding out where a bunch of people you don't know are going to be employed.
That is 100% accurate.
It's just an HR convention.
Basically.
Where people read names off of cards and flashcards.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a pretty cool convention. It was entertaining, even through the top 10 picks.
Oh,
I felt like there were some entertaining moments. Now, there's definitely things that I want to poke holes in from the GM standpoint. Just saying, gosh, I would not do this. I recently saw another video that I posted, and it was basically just people's reaction when Josh Allen got drafted, or Justin Jefferson got drafted, or Patrick Mahomes. And it's just fans being like, no, not Patrick Mahomes. Gosh, we're so stupid. Why are we drafting him? I love stuff like that.
Oh, it's so good.
I did feel that exact way when we drafted Michael Penix, and that went all over our footballer socials. And I felt very justified in having that feeling.
In hindsight, looks correct. We'll talk about Ty Simpson. I'm not making the comparison of these two as players. It feels Penix-y, right? Where it's like nobody projected him to go that high. People thought maybe he could be a round 1 guy. And then they just throw a curveball out of left field. Whoa, we're doing that at 13? Okay. So yeah, we'll talk about it. But that's why the draft is so fun, man. It's so unpredictable. And, you kind of have an idea of where these guys go, but you don't really know what's inside these coaches and GM's minds until they're actually on the clock and how they have their big board set up. So what a fun draft. Let's talk about it. Obviously, Mendoza goes number 1, never a doubt. I was excited to come on here and talk about how many games you think Mendoza is going to play, because it actually does kind of come over into the prop market. They obviously have Kirk Cousins. I mean, what a duo, Kirk and Fernando in the quarterback room. Now, Discord kind of nuked this line. It was at 3,100.5 yards, on FanDuel before the draft. And people in Discord were like, isn't Kirk Cousins going to start the season and maybe play 6 games or something like that? So Discord hammered the under. It's now at 2,700.5.
Jeez.
14.5 passing touchdowns. What's your feel there?
Um,
Just on the whole situation with Kirk, like how many games did he play?
We've done data before, and I need to dig this up, of what is traditionally the weeks that somebody starts if they're a first-round quarterback. Like, what's the average start time? What's the average number of starts? So it's usually at, for guys that are taken this high, it's like 11 is the line. Okay, now you have some that have different situations. So like Jackson Dart last year. It's like Russ started the season, he had that nuclear game against the Cowboys, and then Jackson Dart came in against the Chargers. I think that was week 4, week 5. Neighbors gets hurt. That's traditionally what we see, is this week 4 to week 6 window, and it totally depends on the team and how well they're doing. So we need to look at early season schedule, which we'll find out soon for the Raiders. I'd put his line at like 10.5 to 11 starts, which, given that, then 3,100 and taking the under was a great line. 14.5 passing touchdowns is low, but
it's
for rookie
minus
quarterbacks,
148 to the under on FanDuel.
I mean, obviously we're not taking it over. I think it's just a good line where it's at now and where it's been hammered out. I think I'm more interested in just the Raiders as a team and what they could become.
Oh no.
And I know.
Are we doing this again?
I mean, Betz, tell people for the people that can't see what I'm looking like right now. What am I wearing right now?
You are wearing a Raiders hat.
I was once given a Raiders hat, and I don't think I've maybe worn this more than once, but I thought this was a good episode to do it. I think the Raiders as an organization for the first time feel like they're moving in a direction where they are competent to forward thinking. And we still have to figure out the wide receiver position and a lot of other stuff, but I think Raiders are a team that I could see win 6 games, 7.
Their win total is currently 5.5. Slight juice on the over.
Yeah. I think then I would lean that way. I don't feel like I would hammer that, but 6, I'll have to go through the schedule adjusted projections when we do our win totals episode, but they're moving in the right direction. Raiders. Any last thoughts here?
Not really. No.
Happy for him as a person.
Yeah.
Mendoza. The Jets, I think we can kind of lump together all their picks. They picked 2, they picked at 16, and then they traded back into the first to get Omar Cooper Jr. at 30th. But let's first talk about the David Bailey, Arvell Reese back and forth drama / what does everybody think? We did get David Bailey to go second overall, which was amazing. I think we got that at plus
350.
Yeah, it was plus 300 something. So that was nice to see. Then they took Kenyon Sadiq, 16th overall. That one's kind of funny to think about. It's just a kick in the nards to Mason Taylor. And then Omar Cooper. So what do you want to say about the Jets?
Yeah, the whole thing at number 2 is wild, is that I wonder if this was like the most bet market. Just like, because every day people were talking about, right? Is it Reese?
Yep.
Is it Bailey? And the markets went Michael Scott, snip, snap, snip, snap, back and forth over and over again. Even national, quote unquote, insiders were flipping their opinion back and forth. And it's so wild. Like the local Jets reporters, not all, the vast majority were like, yeah, we think it's Arvell Reese. All the national guys, Schrager and Daniel Jeremiah, et cetera, stuck to their guns with David Bailey. So score 1 for the national guys, L for the local guys in New York.
Losers.
I mean, can you imagine? I thought it was honestly going to be Arvell Reese.
Me too.
But Bailey, I don't think this is a bad pick either way. I think both players deserve to go here, and obviously it's a huge need and a defense that needs playmakers, especially on the edge. So I don't mind either guy. I will say it created a trickle-down effect that I thought the Giants scooped up awesome value at 5th overall with Arvell Reese. We'll talk about them. At pass catcher, man, like Kenyon Sadiq was not on my bingo card for the Jets at all, because this is the same GM from last year. Obviously, we had a new regime come in with Aaron Glenn. They took Mason Taylor, 42nd overall last year. And obviously they're different players in their skill sets and what they do. But like, that is a lot of investment year over year in the tight end position, which doesn't really move the needle a ton in the NFL from a wins-loss perspective. So yes, Kenyon Sadiq is an exciting player. Yes, he's an exciting athlete. He's young. There's room to grow. It doesn't make sense to me from a team building standpoint. Maybe they just said, hey, this is the best pass catcher left on the board that we have. Let's get him. I guess I understand it. But it's just a lot of investment at tight end for a team that has many, many other needs.
Right. You think about what they had 2 years ago with like Saleh, and you're like, okay, so they had one of the top corners, perceived top corners in the league, Sauce Gardner. They had Quinnen Williams. they had the pieces on the defensive side that at least you could say like this, that's how this team could form their identity. And then it's like they've traded those and swapped those out. And like, you got to ask yourself, like with Sadiq, it's like, okay, so this is the pieces they're moving around. It's like a dynasty squad that you've played with in your league. You're like, okay, this guy had this late first round pick. He got this, but then he traded away for that. And you look up and you go, okay, I guess they're going to run more 12 personnel with Geno Smith. And yes, Omar Cooper and Kenyon Sadiq doesn't improve the overall situation with pass catchers. Like, it's definitely better than what they were running out there last year.
For sure.
But I just, Sadiq and Taylor just feels like you're not very forward thinking, or at least you're making it up as you go. Sadiq's line right now is 500 yards. It's $4.99 on Underdog, 500 on FanDuel. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, just thinking about him as a prospect, this is a guy who didn't really have an awesome production profile in Oregon. And obviously they play more games in the NFL, so you have to account for that. With the fact that Garrett Wilson is there, Omar Cooper is there, A.D. Mitchell is there, Breece Hall is there.
There's other people that earn targets.
I would lean under. Just gut feel and kind of first reaction. I don't know that I would make that an official play, but that's what I would lean.
Well, you and I would probably lean just to take blindly unders of every single season-long prop.
That's correct.
But yeah, you just think about how many targets does it take to get to 500 yards, and can this guy see an 18% target share in year one? I would probably say no. But yeah, their thought process is interesting there. And then Omar Cooper, his line on Underdog is at 624.5. It'll be interesting to see how they do their sets. Like, I don't mind A.D. Mitchell as a wide receiver 3.
I actually think it's a solid wide receiver room. Garrett Wilson as your alpha, Omar Cooper can kind of do a little bit of everything as like your 2, and A.D. Mitchell can be your explosive third option. I actually think it's a pretty solid wide receiver room, assuming Omar Cooper pans out, which we'll see. But yeah, obviously all along the Jets have talked about the 2027 class at quarterback. You've got to have a line in place. You got to have weapons in place. And to their credit, they're at least, I think, doing that in some fashion.
We do. The unfortunate thing, the way that we approach teams, and we all do this when we look at them, is like we have this hindsight analysis, and you can go back and you go, okay, so what was this team thinking? So like last year, they take Arian Smith in the 4th round. They trade for A.D. Mitchell. And it's like this year, and they draft Mason Taylor. And you're like, okay, so now they follow up with another wide receiver and another tight end.
Yeah, that does feel interesting, I'll say.
Yeah, no, I mean, but overall, David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar Cooper. I mean, it's a great first day of the draft from an excitement standpoint. Like, the Jets are definitely a much more exciting team. Let's go to the Cardinals. At 3, there was smoke about Jeremiah Love for a while, and you and I personally were like, I cannot fathom somebody doing this. Monty Ossenfort was hired in 2023. Since then, he drafts Trey Benson. He extends James Conner. He could have cut James Conner, decides not to. Then he pays for Tyler Algier. And then he goes, you know what? Let's pay this guy more money than anybody at running back, and takes Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, just for context, he's going to be making over $50 million in guaranteed money. Jeremiah Love is, as the 3rd overall pick. And look, like, we love Jeremiah Love. This is not about him as a player. He's very exciting. We'll talk about how, like, the redraft aspect of how this looks for fantasy. But like in Dynasty, he's always been our top guy. He's everybody's top guy. He's awesome, and I'm happy for him. From a team building standpoint, this is now the 7th highest paid running back in the NFL on an average salary. And that guaranteed money, for context, like, he's getting over $50 million. Genty, just last year got like roughly around $35 million. Like, this is historic as far as the investment in the running back position. It's just not the way you build a team. Like, the Cardinals are not a piece away. And to me, it just screams power struggle in the front office, because there was rumblings, right? It was like, there's voices in the room that have more pull that are leaning towards Love, and there's others that necessarily don't want to build that way. And maybe this looks silly in a year or two, and the Cardinals can turn it around faster than anybody thinks, but you don't have a quarterback. You don't have a right tackle. Your defense is a mess. We saw it last year with Genty. This is not going to help you win games. Will it help sell some jerseys and put seats or fans in the seats? Sure. Is it exciting? Sure. Is it fun? Of course. This is not how you build an NFL team. So I hate it. I hated the pick, honestly. But that's what they went with. We'll see how it works out. I just think, for context too, like, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, the Jets were never taking a running back, no matter what, throughout the entire process. So even in like late February, early March, you could say to yourself, look, we have the 3rd pick. If we really think Jeremiah Love is the pick, fine. But doing that after paying Tyler Algier over $12 million and bringing back James Conner makes zero sense because you knew you could get Love here regardless. So I just think all around a huge swing and a miss from a team building perspective. Again, that's what this is about, not Jeremiah Love, who is awesome. It's just not what you do to build a franchise when you're not ready to compete.
Yeah, my quote that I sent Betz this morning, this was like Betz having his coffee. I said, Monty seems like the grandpa that means really well, their GM, but he forwards a ton of links and emails, and at the end of the day, it's like, oh, come on, man. This is like it, because if it was him, that's like Jeremiah Love is the best player we think available, which he did come out and say afterwards. That's where he was stuck. Like, he just couldn't move off that. He also said he had the wrong number. I don't know if you saw that. Like, he tried to call him. So, team building wise, train wreck to me. Just absolute train wreck. You don't do this. He's going to get himself out of a job. That's what Andy, Mike, and Jason keep saying too. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to sell jerseys. And yet, this is not good process.
Dude, how about Tyler Algier, man? I feel bad for the guy.
Well,
goes to the Falcons, has an awesome rookie year. Thanks for your service. Bijan Robinson, come on down. Goes to Arizona in free agency. Hey, you might be the guy. Sorry, man. Jeremiah Love, come on down. It's just, it happened again. But it just doesn't make sense.
It'll be interesting how we approach Love. His line on Underdog right now is 1,024.5 yards. So we will probably be taking the under, considering James Conner is going to be on the field. Tyler Algier is going to be on the field. Trey Benson might not be on the field. What a terrible, terrible idea to say, let's draft this guy and then not ever.
I have an idea. Let's get Trey Benson on the Jaguars. Have some fun. They need a third running back.
Tootin, Crod, and Trey?
The boys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting week to week with Jeremiah Love and how we project him. Like, for DFS purposes, the name is going to carry so much weight. But it's different than Genty, where Genty would be like, this is his backfield.
Yeah. What's your take? His ADP, and obviously this will change post NFL draft. It's a new contest in best ball before lock last night, where the contests before the NFL draft are wrapping up. He basically was going like right around pick 17, 18, something like that. Do you think that comes down?
Yeah.
Do you think he falls? I do too.
It definitely does, because people want clean opportunities that they can project. So Jeremiah Love will not be projected for, 300 opportunities like we could say for Genty. I think you could even go below 250. And then it's like, oh gosh, am I really investing in this player on a terrible team? What's that? Their win total's at 4.5?
Yes, they're at 4.5. There's only one other team at 4.5, and the Cardinals at under 4.5 are minus 135. The Dolphins are the only other team at 4.5, and they're at minus 125. So the market is basically saying we project this to be the worst team in the NFL this year.
I'll go back through the list. A top 10 drafted running back that in year one, because things will change next year, where we'll be like, okay, Jeremiah Love's the guy. But in year one, it is not clean that somebody's projected for 300 opportunities. Like, you go back through Genty, Saquon when the Giants drafted him at 2, Leonard Fournette, all these guys, you're like, you are the dude. Even CMC, we probably could have poked holes, like he's not going to be an every down running back his first year, but we know the receiving work was going to be there. I cannot project Jeremiah Love for 300 opportunities.
No, I can't either. And the tricky thing is, like, you've heard this all along with Love leading up to the draft. Teams talking about, well, we can use him as a weapon. We'll put him in the slot. That doesn't work. It never works.
Yeah, running backs in the slot, it's like Devon A-Chain, and then it's like
nobody.
It just doesn't happen as much as we think.
Yeah, and it's just not advantageous for your offense to do that. So we'll see. There's a lot of push and pull here on how things could go, and maybe an injury happens and Love is incredible for fantasy, and I hope that's the case. Like, that would be super fun. But just the way it's kind of shaping out right now, the Cardinals feel like they're fumbling the bag a little bit, and they're going to waste a year of a rookie running back on the most expensive contract in history.
Yep. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll move a little faster. All right, at number 4, it was the Titans with Carnell Tate. We got that as first wide receiver off the board. I think that was one of the first props we gave out to the people.
First.
Look at us. We're so smart. His receiving yards line was at 774.5 right now on Underdog. You know what? I like the pairing with Cam Ward. I think we can poke holes in like the dynasty aspect of Cardinal Tate, but I like it from the team building perspective. I'm totally fine with that. I probably would have taken Reese personally, but I think that's totally fine. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, I actually really love it. I'm not sure that he'll be the most prolific fantasy scorer of the wide receivers in this class in year one.
Because they have Wandale?
Because they have Wandale. And they have Iamanor. But the need to build around Cam Ward and like give him a real chance to be the guy, I think is important. So I love this pick. Bring Wandale in free agency. You have a innovative, I think, good play caller in Brian Dable. You get Cardinal Tate. I really think Cam Ward will be one of my most drafted players in best ball this year for the value of the late, third quarterback, second quarterback, where if they outperform expectation, Cam Ward stacks will be cheap and he can bring a lot of these guys along for the ride. So I love it for Cam Ward. I'm a huge fan of that. I will say, if you have access to Bet365, which not everybody does, they limit you like crazy. So if you can get more than $7 down here, our friends over there are hanging a Calvin Ridley line of 875.5 yards. I'm going to tell you that we're leaning. I'm just kidding. Take the under. This is our first official play of the year. Calvin Ridley under 874.5 yards with Cardinal Tate and Wandale there and a new OC and all those things. Let's go under.
Yeah, no, that one this morning you sent it to me. I was like, okay, well, the only way you could say it is like Cardinal Tate's going to take away coverage and Calvin Ridley's going to be the player he was 5 years ago. It's going to be an interesting offense. I do agree with your Cam Ward thoughts. He's probably going to be too cheap as a QB2 in best ball. I think he's definitely one of the names I have circled.
And Pollard's kind of like a stinky name, right? Like maybe they take a running back this weekend or something, but like Pollard will probably be like RB24 off the board. Like the Tennessee stacks, I think will be pretty cheap.
Gunnar Helm?
Don't talk me into a good time, Kyle.
I know. I wish Chig was there. Number 5, we have the Giants who took Arvell Reese, and they came out and said he was our top non-quarterback on the board. It was nice if you saw the interview where it's John Harbaugh and I'm going to say his name right, Joe Shane?
It's just like the first name, Shane.
Joe Shane.
Yep.
He was asked to reveal his board, and he has this huge smirk. I don't think I've seen this guy smile in years, by the way, because he's trying to save his job. And instead, they get their number one player on their board in Arvell Reese. So from a team building perspective, I love it. Their pass rush is nasty.
Yeah. Every year, Giants and edge rushers. It's kind of funny. But the thing with this pick is they can actually, and we'll see with Kayvon Thibodeau. They've said they're not trading him. That could still happen. But you have the ability now to just use Reese however you think is best for his rookie year. You want to put him at linebacker? Great. You want to put him at edge rusher? Great. So I love the pick. Obviously, this is one of I think the best early in the draft value selections on the board. So Harbaugh regime off to a good start.
The Chiefs moved up to pick 6, and there's some good content out there of Brett Veach explaining why they moved up and the fact that they wanted to get ahead of the Saints because they ran all these different statistical projections. I loved hearing all that stuff. And then they also talked about we did not bring him in for a top 30 visit because we wanted to keep it quiet. I respect that. When as a person that does a ton of top 30 visit stuff, I actually think the better way to go about it is to do the way they do it, which is like, hey, we had a guy on our board. This is what we thought. So I don't mind the pick. They did pay a premium to get a cornerback at 6, but they just lost Trent McDuffie, or they traded him away. So it's fine, team building perspective. I think we were all waiting for the Chiefs to take Tyson there at 6. Or at least I was getting really excited from my fantasy perspective, but they take a corner at 6.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I don't know if you saw, he basically said when Cardinal Tate came off the board, we knew Delane was our guy. So in my official mock that I submitted for accuracy, I actually had Cardinal Tate fall into the Chiefs. So I was like, oh man, in hindsight, I kind of wish that happened. And that would have been a lot of fun, obviously, for fantasy. But yeah, corner is a huge need. I think they might have been able to get him at 9, but who knows? The Commanders were in on him, the Saints were in on him. So it is what it is. It's obviously a huge positional need. And when you think about the Jamal McCoy knee issue, it became a one cornerback class, basically. I mean, except for our boy Chris Johnson. But it's like, this is the top guy. And so if you don't get him here, you're not getting him. And so I get it from that perspective.
At 7, the Commanders took Sonny Styles, somebody that you talked about on this podcast last week. He's somebody that we knew was going to be in the mix. He was part of the Top Golf crew, right?
Top Golf is 2 for 2. Or 3 for 3 now, I think.
He knew he was going to be a part of this, group. My neighbor across the street, Commanders fan, this is who he wanted. He wanted Sonny Styles.
Dude, what a good football player, man.
Yeah. At 8, Jordan Tyson to the Saints. You and I are big Jordan Tyson fans. What do you think about the landing spot?
I love it. Yeah, I love it. The only thing that I'll say is that the Saints it's the Mike Wright approach, right? Of fantasy, where he loves these guys that, yeah, they've got an injury history. Yeah, they've got some concern and risk, but like, we're playing for first, and the Saints are playing for first. Tyler Shuck came out of school with a significant injury history. We know Chris Olave's injury history at this point, and Jordan Tyson's injury history is well documented, but they said, doesn't matter. We're going all in with our crew here. And I like it because if you do think Tyler Shuck can be the guy, you have to find out. And not find out by putting Devon Bailey on the field, no disrespect. Give this guy real weapons and let's see. And so you've got a guy on a second round rookie contract. The window is now to be aggressive. So I really like it. And obviously for fantasy, there was opportunity across from Chris Olave. So I'm a huge fan of that. And again, Tyler Shuck, very, very interesting this year for fantasy.
Yes, he's going to stay in the range that is going to be palatable. Like in redraft, he's going to stay in that QB 12 to QB 15 range. We know that he ran a ton down the stretch. It was like 20, 24 yards a game. And we just love Kellen Moore. I feel like every single stop, I've been like, whatever the team is, whatever the situation, I want to be bullish on Kellen Moore. So I think they're a team that can easily win that division. We'll see about what they do on defense. But the pieces are in there. They spent on running back this offseason. I don't know if I love that call, spinning up for Achane, but we'll see. At 9, you got this connection right. Props to you, Betz. Spencer Fano to the Browns. They traded down. I feel like the Browns, the last couple years, they did it with Jaguars. Last year, they traded down, acquired some capital, did the same thing here, traded down. I think they just kind of said, hey, we know our plan, offensive tackle, and then later on, it was wide receiver with Casey Concepcion. And the visits made that very clear that's what they wanted to do. So I feel like we were spot on with that. Spot on. You're spot on with Fano. Yeah, I think the Browns are building the right way. It's not the sexiest way.
This is the way you do it. You got to build the offensive line, and they needed that desperately, and they need playmakers. So I think that this is clearly what they wanted to do, and they capitalized on that plan. And again, we keep talking about this with like the quarterback class of next year. You got to have some things in place first to be able to do that, and I think they're doing it the right way. I don't think they're going to be good this year, don't get me wrong, but at least I think from a team-building perspective, this is how I would do it. I want to get your take on KC to the Browns, because we love
Casey Concepcion.
We love him. The landing spot? There's opportunity. There's opportunity, Kyle. What are your thoughts on that?
But his talent, right? We were talent guys.
Always bet on talent. Are you scared?
I'm a little shooketh. And this is what I always do. Maybe if you're in your dynasty rookie drafts, you feel the same way. But it's like the months leading up, I look at all the studies, look at all the data, look at all the stuff that we looked at and go, man, I'm just a talent guy. I'm not going to be shaken at all. And then the NFL draft happens every single year and you go, oh no, I'm losing my footing. And we'll talk about it on the Dynasty podcast. We'll do a rookie mock draft this next week. But I still think that he can be the alpha in Cleveland. And apart from the quarterback situation, a year from now, will I care, or will I think it's Watson or Sanders? I would say no.
No, I'd be very, very surprised.
And because I trust Todd Monken as a play caller in general in the NFL, and if they're drafting this guy, they're basically trying to morph him into being more than just a gadget player.
I mean, a lot of comps, people are making the straight line connection. Zay Flowers with Monkins to KC Concepcion with Monken. And their games aren't like totally the same, but there's a little overlap. So I get it.
Yeah. I think he can be a guy that eventually sees 25+% target share.
I agree.
And that's somebody you want to bet on now, as opposed to like, I need to see it first with the Browns. So it's not my favorite, but we knew the Browns were going to take one of these wide receivers. Were you surprised that it was Concepcion over Cooper or Boston?
No, not really. I think the league was pretty high on Concepcion from a big board standpoint relative to the other guys, so I'm not super surprised.
At 10, the Giants picked Maui Noah, and I think this is the point I want to bring up, is that you and I said there wasn't a clear consensus about offensive tackle and who would be taken first, so we did talk up Spencer Fano as a value for first offensive tackle taken, and he was taken right before him. So I just thought that was interesting that, like, now we know we're like, he could go to 3 to the Cardinals, or he could be like the second offensive tackle taken. He was almost the third with Proctor going at 12. So I would say this wasn't a clear year in who the top guy was. Like years past was Joe Alt. So just think about that in the future if there's value at offensive tackle. But I want to bring up the Cowboys at 11. They traded up a spot, flip-flop with the Dolphins. Not a Cowboys fan, but I'm very happy for them to get this pick because I think they wanted him the whole time.
Oh, for sure. Everybody knew that. And I mean, he's an awesome player. This is one of those things too. I'm kicking myself. I didn't give this out as an official of over 9.5, but just safeties in the top 10, especially ones that don't test from an athletic profile that aren't outliers, they just fall. And like, this is kind of a good reminder for myself and for everybody next year and the year after. It's like, we see it every year. Nicky Memori fell, Brian Branch fell, Caleb Downs, relative to the talk of him being one of the best players in this class, air quotes, fell. I mean, it's 12th, or 11th. It's not like he fell far, but people were talking about him as like the 5th overall pick. So he fell a little. These safeties just generally fall a little bit. Kyle Hamilton, when he came out, was the 14th pick, something like that.
Yes.
So just a reminder for myself and for everybody next year, if we have another similar situation, you probably can project him to go a little later than you would otherwise.
Oh, man. This was the one part of the draft that my wife actually watched because like every single family member, every single person just said over the top stuff about Caleb Downs, like as a person, the way that he prepares. Nick Saban even was like, hey, this guy, like, I knew right away that this guy was going to be great. And I got to bring it up. He's a Georgia boy. So we're very proud of our own here.
I mean, he's a great player. I'm, as an Eagles fan, not happy that he's in Dallas.
Yes. All right, before we take a break, I need to talk about Ty Simpson at 13 because that's the interesting one. We did Caden Proctor. We did get top 20. That was a great get. But another Bama player, Ty Simpson at 13. We got to talk about Sean McVay's reaction because the guy gave just some of the most bland, quick, not interested answers at all.
I mean, look, I apologize to the Simpson family. I came out and I said on the show 2 weeks ago, I was like, the Rams are the third most likely team to draft him in the betting market. And I said, it's not happening. I would fade that. So I was wrong. And we also took over 24.5, just saying if he goes in round 1, he probably is one of those that you got to trade back in for. Huge swing and a miss by us. And I think by everybody, right? Like nobody saw this coming. It's weird because it feels like McVay and Les Snead are always on the same page. And they've been able to build one of the best teams in the league over the last, 4 or 5 years. And they're on the cusp of the Super Bowl. Like it's right now. Like they were basically a blizzard in Philly away from going to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Last year, people considered them the best team in the league, even though they didn't go to the Super Bowl. They're in the window. And McVay, I think, knows that and knows Stafford is not getting younger. We had the whole back issue last year all summer. It's like, this is the time. It's right now. So you could have got an upgrade in offensive line, another pass catcher, whatever it is. It just felt like McVay and Snead weren't on the same page. I don't know. It feels very Penix-y to a couple years ago. It also feels somewhat similar to Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, where it's like for years people were like, man, Rodgers, the time in Green Bay might be coming to a close. Like you got to kind of maximize the window. I just kept not taking weapons for Rodgers and took Jordan Love. And of course, it took a few years. Ty Simpson, if it's up to Sean McVay and everybody, like he won't play for 2 years. Like they want to let Stafford play out his career and finish it. So we'll see. They're still the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. That hasn't changed. I just think they could have really hit a home run here and like pushed themselves over the top. And they did not do that. So yeah, we'll see. I'm happy for Ty Simpson. I think he has the tools to be a starter in the league, but with only 15 starts in his college career, obviously it's going to take time. This is a good spot for him though. Like learn from Stafford, learn from McVay. Maybe it can work out.
Yes. And we will probably look back at this 2 to 3 years from now, and you can give the take of like, okay, this was great because Stafford got hurt or Stafford retired, and then there's a process to it. There's usually just not many clean moments in the NFL where there's this succession, like the way that the Packers have somehow done it over the last 30 years. Yep. It just doesn't work that way, and it also doesn't work if Sean McVay's not around. Like he's one of those guys that could easily be like, I want to move on. I want to, move into television. I want to move it. Like he could easily do that. So it's very interesting, but you know why they picked a quarterback here, right?
Why is that?
That was part of the deal last year with the Falcons. They said, hey, if you get this pick, If you get pick 13, you got to do what we did, okay? And just take a quarterback.
Oh, man. I even threw this out, too. I was like, I wonder if they could have, like, if he was really their guy, which, we'll figure out in a couple of years if this was right or wrong. Like, couldn't you have traded back and probably got him at, I don't know, 19 or something? Like, probably. But then there was the question of, like, were the Jets in on him? Were they not in on him? It just seems like a reach. It's kind of how it felt. But if he ends up being the guy after Stafford, nobody's going to ask questions about this.
He ruins my stat, too, because my stat I had was every first-round quarterback over the last decade had a known top 30 or private workout with the team that drafted them. Except for Ty Simpson, because the Rams don't do workouts. And they don't, or at least we don't have anything on the board that says they met with them or any of this stuff.
Dude, did you see? He didn't even talk to Sean McVay. Never met him.
That's what I'm saying.
Before last night on the phone call of saying, hey, we're taking you. Never spoke to him before.
That's wild to me. That's wild.
We'll see.
So, ruins my stat. Now I have to change it. I have to change all my spreadsheets for you, Ty Simpson. What a turd. All right, let's take a break, and then we'll keep talking. All right, we're going to move through some of these picks and get to talk about a couple more names. I'm going to let you pronounce the name of the Ravens' 14th overall pick, which was mocked by a lot of people. Your Penn State buddy, Vega Ione.
Yeah, basically. That's basically what it is. This was one of the chalk picks, and everybody got it right.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, he's going to go in this range. They need an upgrade in offensive line if they lost Linderbaum. Some people considered him the cleanest offensive lineman in the class, but he's not a tackle, so there's the positional value argument. But just what the Ravens do, right? They take good players and let the value fall and build the right way. So I thought it was a good pick.
Yep. 15 was Ruben Bain, which is a bit of a fall compared to where a lot of people thought he would go. Gets to stay in Florida. I think it's a good value pick for the Buccaneers.
I like it. They needed an edge rusher. He was definitely the top rated one on the board, so I don't mind it at all.
All right, we talked about Sadiq at 16. Let's talk about just a couple of teams here. This is the range, and once we get into the 20s where teams are kind of trading a lot to move up a couple of spots. We said before that from about pick 16 to, I don't know, pick 45, it feels like all these players are kind of in the same spot. Mekhi Lemon's one of the guys that dropped, we'll talk about. But everybody feels in the same spot. But like the Lions took Blake Miller, offensive tackle for Clemson. The Vikings took Caleb Banks, defensive tackle from Florida. These guys look like major reaches if you're looking at just draft board consensus. The Lions have kind of been that team where they're like, hey, we have our own board. Like with Gibbs, they did it with Isaac Tesla last year. That's fine. That's the way to do it. Caleb Banks was somebody that some people had like going out of the first round and he goes 18th overall. So interesting process for these NFC North teams. Monroe Freeling for the Panthers goes 19th overall. Anything you want to say about this group?
The Banks one was out of left field. Not a lot of people mocked him to go in the first round because he had major injury issues. I believe broken foot a couple seasons in a row here, and he was struggling to come back from that. And then, of course, we had the clearance, right before the draft, like, hey, he's healthy. And the Vikings were always tricky because if you guys recall, 2 months ago, Kwesi was let go. So they didn't have a GM for this. Like, they kind of had to, work on the fly here, which kind of, you couldn't really mock based off GM tendencies or historically what they would do. So it was a little bit of a tricky one, but I think a lot of people agree this is one of the biggest reaches based off consensus, big boards, and projected draft capital for this player out of anybody in the first round. So we'll see. The tape is good, apparently. That's what people say, and he's dominant when he's healthy. That's just a major question mark. I thought the Blake Miller pick and the Monroe Freeling picks were okay. The Lions were always like the Caden Proctor team that people talked about. So when he went, I just wonder if they were like, hey, we got to take whoever's next on our board, ensure we can upgrade the offensive line and go from there. But I think, those two offensive line picks based off this class and based off the big boards were totally fine.
I like what you said about Caleb Banks, dominant when healthy. That's like what they say about me.
You're
dominant when I'm there. No, my back hurts a little bit today.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
So I was on the court and I was racing up to but I'm going to play again today, so we're fine.
Yeah,
we're fine.
Rub some dirt on it, Kyle. You're fine.
I did put a little icy hot on it. Let's go to pick 20. This is an exciting moment for you as an Eagles fan, you as a huge Mekhi Lemon fan. I don't think you ever thought these two things would collide.
Not at all, man. Not at all. They were kind of rumored, like, before Tyson was apparently the best wide receiver in the world, 3 weeks ago, before he was projected to go in the top 10. There was some rumblings of, like, maybe how he moves up for Tyson if he falls. Now it's Mekhi Lemon. It's wild that Philly and Dallas have traded again, because the last time these two teams traded, they got Devonta Smith. Now, the Cowboys got Micah Parsons, so it worked out for everybody. But, divisional trades just don't happen that often. So that was interesting. And a lot of people have talked about, well, Lemon is obviously the A.J. Brown replacement. And yes, A.J. Brown, in my opinion, will be traded. Devonta Smith is the A.J. Brown replacement. So I don't think Lemon has to come in and be A.J. Brown. I think the team is definitely counting on Devonta Smith to ascend and be the alpha. So he's going to be a very, very fun topic this summer. How high does his ADP go? Where do you settle him in at? And all that sort of stuff. So we'll talk about it. But I love Mekhi Lemon. The player interviews, they're not the best.
They're not good, bud.
but I like his game. I'm a huge fan. And obviously going to the Eagles, obviously very fun.
Yeah. I mean, the story, you get some stories behind the scenes if you want to look, just to say, hey, Pittsburgh was calling me, then Philadelphia came in. But he did say, I don't know if you saw this when they're interviewing him, he's doing his snake kind of moving head back and forth, but he did say he called himself a dog.
I love it. He is a dog.
They're getting a dog.
He is a dog.
I was like, all right.
Also, shout out to Pittsburgh. What a rough week to be a Pittsburgh fan. I think we all know the best city in the state, if we're being honest.
Scranton.
It's the electric city in Scranton, obviously. Do the Penguins even care anymore? And now Howie is just stealing Omar Khan's lunch money, taking his pick while he's on the phone from him. It is a terrible week to be a Steelers fan. Or be a Pittsburgh fan, I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say there's one part of being a Philly fan right now that's not going so well.
Oh, the Phillies
are
so
baseball
bad,
team.
Dude. I've stopped watching. Like, wake me up when they do anything.
What a poor
so
excuse for a franchise right now. I mean, I hate watching the Phillies.
And the thing that is so frustrating, this is not a baseball show, but we talk about this sometimes off air and everything. It's like, your team, you've done the same thing 4 years in a row, and you've been on the cusp for 4 years in a row. They just keep paying the old guys, hoping this will be the time it works out. Good Lord, man. Yeah, they're terrible. They're unwatchable.
Oh, man. Go Braves. So, yeah, the Steelers are at 21, and they got leapfrogged because they were on the phone with Mekhi Lemon, and then they got punched in the face, and then they take an offensive tackle that it seemed like the clock ran out, and they're like, we don't want to get past, so we're just, we're going to pick this guy.
There was a lot of connections to Omar Cooper with Pittsburgh. I'm surprised they didn't pull the trigger there when Lemon went off the board, but they needed offensive linemen, especially with the Broderick Jones injury that popped up here recently. I believe a neck injury. So they needed an upgrade in offensive linemen. Yeah, they kind of panic picked, but they at least addressed a position of need.
I believe this was the pick that we were dying in the chat where it pans to it pans to somebody's home and it's like all their draft party people and everything else.
This was so good.
The first thing they see is one of his buddies or somebody, his brother, and it's just all you see is butt cheek. It's just him and his buddies, his pants were all the way down, kind of sagging, and it's just, that's the main thing on the camera is just butt cheek.
And to be fair, he was wearing underwear, so it wasn't skin, but the shorts were well below the cheek line. And he just stands up, and you can't even see the player. It's just butt cheeks right on the screen.
It's just total cheekage right there. Pick 21.
I rewound it and rewatched it again. I was just cracking up. My wife was like, "You are a 9-year-old." Yes, I am.
No, it was great stuff. I'm sure that after all of these things, they get to see same shots over and over again. They pick the hat, and they don't really show that there's like 32 hats sitting there in front of these players. And then it's like, no, let's go with butt cheeks and see what everybody says. By the way, my boys, 9 and 6 years old, that's the word that gets them going. If I say the word butt cheeks, they're done.
It's easy.
It's great stuff. All right. We're going to keep moving on in the 20s. This is where a lot of trades ended up happening. A couple of edge rushers here for the Chargers. God, I love the Chargers. Did you see they show their draft board the day of?
Oh, so
how
good.
It works?
So good.
Yeah. And then they put 90s movies characters as like an example to not show their board. I mean, I'm in love with the Chargers.
They're
always.
The best.
The Cowboys took Malachi Lawrence at 23 when they traded back with Philly. We kind of knew they were going to address defense. We talked about Casey Concepcion. His line, I do want to mention it. It's about 600 yards on Underdog, 650 on FanDuel. I mean, we're going to usually take unders, but the discrepancy there, you could talk me into getting 600 receiving yards on the over because I love him.
I could see it. I'm not going to play it personally, but I could see it.
I'll just draft him and live that way.
There you go.
That's what you do in these markets. If it's like, man, that's a good line, draft him in best ball.
That's right.
All right, Dylan Thieneman was somebody that I had in my mock to the Bears. I felt really good about that one. I thought safety was going to be what they were going to address.
Yeah, this is another one. Caleb Downs, I mentioned relative to where people ranked him on big boards, fell a little bit outside the top 10. Thieneman, like people were talking about as a top 15 pick at one point, even like a top 20 lock type of guy. Again, safeties.
And then everybody had him to the Vikings forever.
Right. Safeties will fall. He fell. I think it's an awesome pick. Like home run for the Bears. This is a really good football player. So they needed it, and he was for sure the best safety on the board.
Yeah, I love seeing teams that stay put, let the draft board fall, let other people who are drafting based on just like pure needs, like, we have to get an edge rusher. We have to get this position. And then they just sit back and go, let's draft really good players that are going to fit in our system at 25. Yeah, the Bears have been a team that we would say like we're like very Jetsian years ago. And now we're like, this is how you build a franchise. This is how you do it. The Texans moved up to 26, and it was probably one of the worst graded trades, I would say, of the whole day, where a lot of these teams, when you start looking at the boards, like, okay, so there was trades at like 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, like a bunch of trades right here. And the Bills just kind of kept moving back, kept acquiring capital, because what we talked about is that between picks 16 through 40, they're all about the same. The Bills were like, well, if teams are going to pay up to get their guy, do it. The Texans moved up to get a guard. That is usually not something you want to trade up for.
And probably could have just stayed where they were and took him. So yeah, it's a little confusing. And to your point, like people that evaluate this stuff on the, not like we do in our mom's basements, but big boards and rankings and all that sort of stuff for prospects. There was a lot of talk. It's like you will run out of players that have a first round grade when you get to like pick 13, 14, 15. So to your point, like I actually love this for the Bills, right? Like just this is all the same tier of quality of player. Maybe there was a guy or two that like you loved and you want to take him, it's fine. But yeah, just move back, keep getting assets and more swings at the board and hope you can hit on a couple of them. So we've given Brandon Beane a hard time. Multiple people have for years. I thought this was a good draft.
Yep. And the Texans have created their own problems with their offensive line. And now they have to go, hey, we got to draft offensive line. It's almost like locked in.
Yeah.
And for them, he was the best player available to address the guard position, which is not as valuable as some of the other ones. So not a great look for the Texans. It's great for addressing a need. The Dolphins take our boy Chris Johnson. Are you going to get a Chris Johnson jersey, for him and his family?
I love this man. I mean, what a player. Best player in the league.
So in other words, you're probably going to get like one of those like janky shirts from like T Public or like a Temu shirt that just says Chris Johnson.
What's wrong with that?
Those are like the ones that like the iron-ons for like $14.
Come on, man. These kids are expensive.
Dude, I always search for shirts for my kids because they're in their baseball phase, and so we'll pick a player. And if you Google like any player, you can find a shirt for them, but a lot of them are just janky ones. I'm like, I want a legit shirt that's not just going to... But Chris Johnson, San Diego State, it's nice. It is interesting. We talked about Jermon McCoy and Colton Hood, the Tennessee cornerbacks, both dropping out of the first round. They were there, and I felt like a couple of teams could have used them, and so we'll see where they go on day 2. The Patriots moved up for an offensive tackle. Boring. The Chiefs took Peter Woods, who, looking at mock drafts a year ago, Peter Woods was like a top 5 pick for a lot of people. So there's value there for the Chiefs. Respect that. Respect the value. Getting defensive. We really wanted some offensive playmakers with the Chiefs. Like we thought like maybe we're going to get one of these. Maybe they pick a wide receiver on day 2. And then Keldrick Falk at 31 for the Titans. He fell in drafts. And then finally, Jadarian Price at 32. We speculated. There was talk. He never publicly met with them. Another guy who ruined my charts.
It's wild, dude. I mean, it's wild. There was rumblings of this, and I kind of brushed it off, to be quite frank, because it's like, is not a first-round player, right? But again, in this draft where these guys are all not really first-round players most years, it's just wild, especially considering his lack of production playing next to Jeremiah Love for all those years. Perhaps Seattle thought he couldn't get to them at 64, and they had to have him. It feels Clyde Edwards-Helaire-esque in terms of like, you know, not necessarily the value matching the pick and all those sort of things, but obviously with Walker gone and Sharps coming off the ACL, they desperately need it. His ADP this summer will be fascinating in best ball. We'll see. Right now, like in the pre-draft stuff, he, with this landing spot, is a steal where he was going at like pick 110. If he steams up to like the 5th round, something like that, that's going to be scary investment, in my opinion. But it's hard to argue with the landing spot, man. It's a good team, wants to run the ball, and they need running back. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't mind at 32. It's a premium. What was the tweet about? This is the CH Memorial pick.
Oh yeah, that was Denny Carter. Shout out to Denny. That was good. He said the Seahawks closed out night 1 with a Clyde Edwards-Helaire Memorial pick. What's Jerry Price?
Dude, Denny usually hits when he's well timed when he does it. It's really, really good stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Denny. This is Rotopat.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting my hosts mixed up.
Also does great work too. Snarky things as well. I'm just gonna throw this on you just because we're recording. Josh isn't even up yet to be able to produce this show, so let's just do it.
I want to play a game.
I just wanted to close with a little game where we just simply recap, and I'm going to give you a category, and we'll just do some quick hitters. Okay?
All right, let's do it.
Which team are you most surprised by?
I mean, the Rams. Easy.
Yeah, the Rams, and then I think I'm just surprised by the level of commitment to the bit by the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Picks you loved the most.
I don't want to be a homer with Mekhi Lemon, so I'll go with... I thought Ruben Bain was an awesome value for where the Bucs got him at 15. For a long time, he was a top 10 guy, so I thought that's a very, very good value pick.
My wife thought it was hilarious how many times they brought up about his arm size. She's like, why does that matter? She didn't understand. And so I was like trying to explain that. And like, I also tried to be like, he has really short, I'm talking like 3rd grade arms. And so like that, I just love thinking about like, we all know that. We all like get that. So it was just funny. I'll say I like Caleb Downs to the Cowboys from a team like perspective. I think he fits. I was happy for him. Cardinal Tate to the Titans. I was happy that they backed up Cam Ward and they're putting their money where their mouth is. And then the Dylan Thieneman pick I thought was just a home run at 25. Pick you hated the most?
Jeremiah Love, 3rd overall.
Yeah, I hated that one. I hated the Texans trading up for the guard. I mentioned that. And then anybody else that just doesn't make sense to me. Everybody else, well, the Steelers
Vikings
just
maybe too.
Yeah, Caleb Banks feels like a reach. And then the Steelers not knowing what they're doing is hilarious. All right, last thing. We're recording this now. You're hearing it. And then we have day 2 picks. So which day 2 players are you looking most forward to?
Yeah, I mean, for fantasy, obviously, we've got to see where Denzel Boston goes. He was getting round 1 buzz. We'll see on him. I don't think he'll have to wait very long. The other one is Jamal McCoy, right? Who most people would say is one of, if not the best players in the class if he's healthy. And obviously, he slid because of health concerns. So we'll see who skips him up and maybe get some value on day 2 if he can get back to form.
Yeah, I will just say, running back wise, I want to see where a couple of these landing spots are. I'm a big Emmett Johnson fan. So maybe if he lands with the Vikings, something like that, like I'm cool with that world. Denzel Boston, Chris Brazzell, Ted Hurst, Georgia State.
Dude, I think Ted could sneak into the 3rd. We'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah. The draft's great. It's so great. All right, Betz, sign us off.
Yes, always a fun week of the NFL draft. Hopefully you all made a lot of money last night, enjoyed the draft. It was a great, fun event. Enjoy the weekend with the 2nd day and then, of course, the 3rd day. And then next week, everything in the Dynasty Pass updated to reflect all of this. And we're back. The summer of best ball. Let's go. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com.